My brother-in-law died suddenly, and now my sister and her kids have to sell their home. That's why I told my husband we could not put off getting life insurance any longer. An agent offered us a 10-year, $500,000 policy for nearly $50 a month. Then we called SelectQuote. SelectQuote found us identical coverage for only $19 a month, a savings of $369 a year.
Whether you need a $500,000 policy or a $5 million policy, SelectQuote could save you more than 50% on term life insurance.
For your free quote, go to SelectQuote.com. SelectQuote.com. That's SelectQuote.com.
SelectQuote. We shop, you save. Full details on example policies at SelectQuote.com/commercials.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.
Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Join us as we seek the truth and travel the long road to justice. What's going on, everybody? It's Gigi. Time for another episode of Pretty Lies and Alibis. What's good, Fruit Loop?
I don't even know. Honestly, I do not know.
Yeah, I tell you, you and I were just talking about the COVID brain. I'm so foggy.
Oh, yeah. It lingers.
It does. And we've had so many people reach out and ask how we're doing, and we really appreciate it. You're doing better. You're having little problems with your sugars, but
yeah, I don't know what it is. It's just up and down, dealing with lows, and then I'm high. So
yeah, well,
crazy.
Yeah, it is crazy. I'm dealing with some bad headaches and crazy fatigue. I can't do much without wanting to just go lay down. And my doctor said that's just all part of it. But the headache's weird. It feels like a concussion. It's not throbbing like a headache. Only super painful when I cough or sneeze.
Yeah.
But I'm just ready to feel better.
Oh, I know, right?
Like, this is crazy. We're going to rent a boat this weekend and go out on Lake Jocassee. And I'm looking forward to that because I thought I can be miserable here at home or I can be on a beautiful lake on a pontoon with my kids.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
So you had a funny thing with a blue popsicle.
Oh, okay. So those red, white, and blue popsicles. They're firecrackers.
I love those. Yeah, they're so good.
They're awesome. It just reminds me of being a kid.
But my favorite part's the middle.
Oh, the white part?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so good. I can't taste anything, so it's all texture and temperature right now. Yeah. But I grabbed a popsicle, went in my room, was watching TV, got finished, and the last part's blue. So I get up to go take the little wooden stick to the trash, and my youngest daughter, she says, "Mom, can you breathe? Are you okay?" And I walk in the bathroom, and my lips were so blue. Poor kid thought I had lost my ability to breathe. She was freaked out. I said I could have really freaked her out and flopped on the floor like a fish, but I don't want to pay for therapy, so I decided
get the O2 meter out and check it.
I know, right?
Yep. So we got a thank you to Melissa and Debbie for a PayPal donation. And Debbie sent some Get Well Soon cards. So that was
She
cool.
did. She's so thoughtful. We always say she takes good care of us, and she does. And we're very appreciative to both Melissa and Debbie for their thoughtfulness. And, the donations help us to keep doing this. It costs a little money. And so we appreciate it. If anybody feels like they would like to donate, we don't expect it. Our PayPal is prettyliesandalibis@gmail.com. We also have merchandise, prettyliesandalibis.com. You can go check out our t-shirts. A lot of people really like our logo because it's very retro.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, and the stuff looks great.
Takes you back to the 80s.
I wish we could go back to the 80s.
Yeah. Yep.
So I'm behind on stickers and everything, guys. With this COVID, it's just taken a while, and I'm really trying to get motivated to go back to doing that. So hopefully by the weekend I'll get those in the mail. If you guys are new to the podcast, we have some new listeners. Just send us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram an inbox with your address, and we'll send you a sticker. But make sure you put a code word Sherlock, because otherwise we get put on all these free sites that don't listen to us. And that's cool, but we would rather save our stickers for you guys.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
So did you see Aiden Fucci's video of him in court?
Oh, yeah. I'm trying to think of what it made me. It reminded me of some movie. I can't remember what they were following a fly or something. It was funny.
Yeah, that's exactly. I said there is like a bug in that room, and he's trying to watch it with his eyes.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I mean, it was worse than Letitia's acting crazy. If you remember that, it
just kept mumbling stuff. He was like mumbling stuff.
Yeah, but here's my thing. I would like to see the communal video in that jail and see if this is something that he does constantly. If he does, okay, maybe I might say. I mean, look, as brutally as he murdered that girl, he needs a psych eval out of the gate anyway. But we start to see this with getting comfortable in jail, and he's been in there a few months now, and reality is starting to set in that he's in bad trouble. And so I see this more as, well, maybe if I act crazy, I can go home. I don't know.
Yep.
He got some bad advice from somebody.
Oh, yeah.
So before we get into the 48 hours, let's talk about this quick incompetency hearing that we had Monday.
Yeah, so Boyce received information about Lori's mental state, but it wasn't enough of a progress report to officially extend the stay on her case. Basically, he got the Cliff Note version and not the whole essay.
Yeah, exactly. He wants.
Why wouldn't they send that in, though? That's crazy.
I don't know.
And I wouldn't send the information.
Well, and I think the other thing too is that you've got Mark Means, who's known to file these things that are a little bit off and not really relevant or not double checking stuff. It seems to me like he should have known this isn't going to get us the extension. But anyways, here it is. They've delayed the stay until September the 8th. They're going to continue the status conference on that day. And by then he'll have the full report. But I really do think they're going to extend her another 180 days, which would put us into March of next year for another status conference. So now we start getting into these long delays.
Yep. The other thing is, I mean, if you can't try them together, if she's got to stay on her case and Chad's moving along, I mean, I read something on that yesterday or day before. It was just questioning. It was somebody's post or something, probably.
Well, what's going to happen is if she's not competent and Pryor is, we know that he just signed his waiver for a speedy trial. But at the same time, I think it's probably in Pryor's best interest to try to take this to trial sooner than later while she's incompetent, because that organically separates those cases. And I'm going to tell you, after watching 48 Hours last night, I'm 100% convinced that he's flipped on her.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yep.
And we said it from the beginning.
Mm-hmm.
There's no way they can go through this legal process together and stay united. Lori has always turned on her husbands. Here's my question. Is it maybe around the time that we started hearing about these mental health issues that maybe she was let in on the fact that Chad's kind of going to throw her under the bus? I'm curious what sparked it.
Could be, because if you remember when he was out and she was still in, he was feeding her all kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah, telling her that people thought she was okay. And I forgot about that.
They were supporting her and all that. So, yeah.
So let's talk about this 48 hours. Well, did we say that Chad's hearing on Monday, it was not streamed? They were going to keep that private.
Yeah.
So we don't know what that was about.
No.
Would be interesting. So the Daybell kids were on 48 Hours. I was really shocked when I heard they were going to be on there because they have not talked really.
Yeah. I think the only time we heard from them, I think Garth talked to, his name just left me.
Ron Draper.
Yes. Tyler Draper. Tyler Draper.
Yeah. I think I may be thinking about Mad Men. He was a Draper. And then Emma called into Court TV briefly where she talked about the fact that they couldn't get the autopsy report until they talk to them, but they did give what they've been told as a cause of death.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was asphyxiation.
Yeah. And
Asphyxiation.
if you remember a while back, a source told us in the know that it wasn't poison.
Yep.
And I kind of was like, I trust the source, but I don't know. But I guess they were right.
Yeah. I mean, and it still doesn't, we don't know anything.
No.
I mean, that is, I don't want to say a loose term, but it can mean a bunch of different things.
Exactly. Anything from suffocating to if she were given something and aspirated and choked, that's a very broad term to try and describe manners of homicide. But
I know it's going to be down through our notes somewhere, but a thing that stuck out to me was they agreed with Chad that her health was going downhill about her breathing and stuff. I wonder if there wasn't something being slipped into her daily to cause that to look like that.
Yeah, and I had a thought about that because it didn't make sense to me because if you remember, Chad sent Tammy up to see her family shortly before she died. And they said she was dancing around the living room, that they said there was nothing wrong with her. And I thought to myself, if she's been in failing health all this time, number one, why would Chad encourage her to get in her car and drive to Springfield? And if the kids were aware she was in failing health, why would they let her?
Yeah, exactly.
They make it sound like she couldn't function.
Yeah. So that's what made me think. To me, it seemed like because she was training for a marathon or something.
Yeah, triathlon or something like that.
Yeah, if you're training for that, I mean, I just don't make sense.
Well, my overall impression of these kids, and I went through about 10 different emotions watching this last night. Initially, I kind of felt sorry for them. They have a very childlike trust in their father. It's I'm not trying to be ugly, but it reminded me of The Water Boy when Adam Sandler would say, "But Mama said." Mama said. It's just taking 100% what a parent tells you and staying with that.
Yeah, but the other thing I kept thinking was if they do prove that he did kill Tammy, where does that put you now? Because now you have somebody that you've trusted, and where are you going to be then?
I think the trial is going to either do one of two things to the Daybell kids. It's either going to rock their world to the core, or it's going to do nothing, and it's going to be more of this. He was framed. This was a setup. He's a good guy.
Yeah.
Those are your two options for those kids. I look, we know it's not easy to get 3 murder charges put on the table for you with a possible sentence of death. So the evidence that Rob Wood and Lindsay are holding back is the evidence.
Yeah.
So how are they going to feel in court sitting behind their dad? Maybe they've got text messages where he acknowledges the kids are going to be buried in his yard. We don't know. So I don't know how this is going to go for them. I felt sorry for them initially. They're very socially awkward. We're not going to sit here and bash them for 30 minutes. No. It's just not what we do. I think they've been dealt a hand that is very difficult, and we don't know how they were raised, but clearly they were raised to believe any and everything their dad said.
Yeah. So we'll see how that turns out when they start hearing some of that other stuff.
Right.
But like you said, when the trial starts, I think it's gonna be shocking for them.
Oh yeah.
Because they claim, they think he was framed. And they're still communicating with him. So
clearly. Well, you have to think that Pryor probably gave his blessing for this. I thought this sort of seemed like a way to try and change the narrative about Chad, but also to victimize Chad. And you're not going to do that. I mean, that mission failed if that's what it was.
Oh, yeah. For me, right at the beginning, Emma makes a statement that my father needs a voice for him.
Yeah.
And I was like, what?
She's always been daddy's girl, though.
Yeah. So for me, that set the tone for the whole thing. I knew what was coming, basically.
Oh, yeah.
Um,
But they're the two in the back and Leah. Leah was the one that I saw genuine tears from.
yeah,
And it kind of made me wonder, is it this is a show of unity with his kids. So
yeah,
they're there and they are a united front for their father, but at the same time, the two boys in the back and Leah, I don't feel like they were convinced. They said these things and I heard what they were saying, but their body language and everything else told me they were very uncomfortable.
mm-hmm,
They
yeah,
didn't, there was a couple of things they all in unison agreed with. There was one question that the son on the left, it took him 10 seconds to agree.
yep,
So,
yeah,
I think he was the one that was on the mission when Tammy died. So everything that he's heard has been secondhand. I don't even think he was able to come to her funeral.
yeah, yep. I don't think so
So
either.
I don't know. But then I didn't feel sorry for them for long because even though they seem very childlike to me, I mean, these are grown adults with careers. Some of them have families. And at some point, you, to me, it seems like just what we know, what's been in the news and what's been reported, that you would start to put two and two together and say,
Yeah,
maybe this knight in shining armor dad, or who I thought he was, is capable of a double life because lots of people are capable of double lives.
well, they said at the beginning they questioned everything, but then it seemed like after they talked to him and said whatever he said to them, then they came back under that leadership of their father. Oh, okay, this makes sense. This makes sense.
Right,
Um,
right.
what stuck out to me, what Emma said, Lori was Chad's worst mistake he ever made.
Can you imagine if Lori Vallow hears that?
Oh my goodness.
I mean, yeah, but well, obviously, look what this family's going through. And then you get into the whole debate. Was it Chad? Was it her? It's kind of like what came first, the chicken or the egg? It was magnets, it was fire and gasoline, those two. I don't think anybody headed this up initially. I just think that Chad had this woman who was enamored with him and he had a loaded God complex, and that was it.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
all these things that he sat and wrote about and thought about, he had a believer. He had somebody who
Yeah.
100% believed him, and Alex and Melanie Gibb and all that whole crew.
Yeah.
I think it was intoxicating.
Oh, very much so. Yeah. So Emma also said her dad was a professional gravedigger and buried animals deeper than the kids were found. Okay, do you remember back at preliminary when Pryor kept drilling? I don't even know who was on the stand. It was one of the detectives, I think, or somebody about um the pet cemetery.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, yeah.
So when this came out last night, because they said there was more than one.
Yeah, they all made a big show to say there was
Mhm.
more than one and also that it was
Yeah.
never searched.
Exactly. So that immediately went back to Pryor making those statements. So that's where he's going with that.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Um,
Who cares if they dig up a raccoon? I mean, you
Yeah.
got two kids' bodies on your property. We don't care about a raccoon.
yeah. And I mean, if Alex Cox is on your property, we know by cell phone pings. I mean, we're assuming it was Alex. I mean, his cell phone ping there.
Yeah.
So you're gonna tell me a guy's out in your yard digging
Right.
and he's on your property? I mean,
And
he
you
had to
don't
drive
know.
a vehicle. He had to drive his vehicle up there.
With a body, two
So,
bodies.
yeah. So I don't understand that.
Yeah, I don't either. And here's the thing, Chad's putting himself out in that yard with Alex when he texted Tammy that he shot the raccoon,
Yep. Yep.
which Garth tried to verify that story. It seemed a little he stumbled through that.
Yeah. That they'd had trouble with raccoons and whatever.
And then
whatever.
you had that one detective who said, "Well, that was odd because they're nocturnal.
Yep.
They're usually not." Believe me, no, I have a possum, not a raccoon, but he comes at
Yeah.
night.
Yeah. I know, right?
But here's the
Um,
thing, with those graves being shallow, it's not a pleasant thing to talk about, but Tylee's body was not dismembered and burned in one shot. That had to take time. Even in a very controlled environment, it can take 12 to 24 hours in a crematorium to fully get a body down to bones.
Yeah.
I think the shallow graves were easy access to get rid of the remains at some point, whether they move them completely or have these bonfires. I mean,
Yeah.
so you're telling me that Alex would come over and strike up a big bonfire and Chad was just in his house writing a book?
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
Makes
Yeah.
no sense. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
do you smell smoke?
Because I
mean,
do.
really.
I go on other people's property and light a fire. Yeah, that's
No,
what I do all the time. Yeah.
but I mean, it's comical almost, and that's the thing is that, yeah, we'll get down to this in a minute, but now I think we do kind of see the framework for the defense.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
This is where
And
they're
it's
going.
almost like, I mean, obviously they've been talking to their dad. So, I mean, it does sound a lot like, okay, this is where we're going.
Yeah, and they talk to Pryor.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure they talk to him on a regular basis. So, like I said, I'm sure he gave the go ahead and probably gave them a rough outline of what to say if you're asked this or this or this.
Yeah. So they did say Tammy started going to bed earlier.
Because I would have look, if Chad Daybell was my husband, I'd be going to bed too, like 7:00, just so I wouldn't have to hang out with him.
4:30, I am in the bed.
Yeah, exactly. Home from work, I'm tired, I'm going to bed. And then they talked about her being tired, but you have to understand, this woman likely knew that her husband was having an affair. And that alone, I'm sure, would keep a woman up at night.
Yeah.
And it would cause you to stress during your waking hours. What happens when you stay stressed? You stay tired.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, they act like she's walking over gasping for air for a long time.
Yeah. Yeah.
The
kids did say that they were the ones who chose not to do an autopsy.
I thought that was weird.
Yeah, I thought that was a little odd too. And I don't know. The whole situation.
Well, here's the thing for me. This is the biggest thing that stuck out to me last night because it's two different stories. If you remember, after Tammy died, Chad posted on AVAL and talked about going into the next season of his life. And when he woke up and found her at 6 a.m., she had been dead she had slipped away during the night and she was peaceful and had a smile on her face. Then yesterday, Garth says, I heard a thud. I go in there. My mom's half on the bed, half off. I think Garth puts her back on the bed while Chad's pacing around the rooms, pointing at pictures on the wall saying, why her?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's not even in the same zip code.
No.
As far as stories go, because I believe we had heard that Chad had called Garth, who was at a Halloween party, and then he came over.
Yeah.
At some point, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. There's been so many different, yeah.
But that's just, but what came out of Garth's mouth and what Chad posted on AVAL, the two of them, completely different stories. I hope that they're, trying to figure out what happened, and I'm sure they are.
Yeah.
But
and
that
then
one for me.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And then with me on the phone call with Melanie Gibb, Lori and Chad both say Chad tells her it would put her in danger if she knew where the kids were. So for me, that's saying he knew where they were.
Exactly. Yeah, of course they did. Alex did the same thing with Melanie Gibb. Remember, she said, where's JJ or something? And he said, you don't want to know.
Yeah. Yep. Yep.
So they forget what they've said to people or what they posted on their little prepper forums, and it catches up with you.
Hey, the other thing I thought was interesting was Emma said Chad was going to meet his attorney when he left the house that day.
He wasn't going to meet his attorney.
I mean, where are you going?
He was going to jail to meet his attorney. Look,
exactly.
We heard the phone call that he made to her, or she called him while the search was going on. You can hear it in his voice. What's up? They're searching the property. And he says it again. No, they're outside. I mean, he made very clear where they were. And as soon as they hit those remains, that's when he sped off. Yeah. That's when, we have that short video of him handcuffed being walked to the car. Now, did you hear her say that she went to the cop car after he had been arrested?
Yep.
And said that he said, what am I being arrested for? And she said they found human remains, and she said he went white and his eyes got big. And I thought, yeah, because now he knows they found the kids.
Yeah.
She's interpreting that as, oh, I had no clue.
Exactly.
And we're all thinking, well, yeah, your face is white and your eyes are big because you're about to go to the pokey for the rest of your life, and you know it.
Oh yeah, most definitely.
Crazy. Yeah.
But then Emma did say, I don't know why they would be there, but I do know that if he were to commit a crime, talking about where the kids were buried, he wouldn't be foolish enough to put the evidence in his own backyard. This is his property. If their body's buried here, it would be attributed to him. Okay, does she not ever? There's tons of serial killers and people who murder people. They put them in their yard so they can monitor and watch.
Exactly. I think that was probably the reason I would think is that it's the last place you would look, because that day, the day we started this podcast, we were both so shocked that those kids were on his property.
Yeah.
I never would have thought it. I think one time you said there was a video, it was like a documentary that Kay and Larry had done, and you said, wouldn't it be weird if they were right there?
Yep.
You said that back when it was still snow covered. And I think I was like, oh, no way. There's no way those kids are there. I think it was their way to stay clued in on how close an investigation would get. You never know what these people's thinking, but Emma said that there's plenty of an opportunity for Alex to sneak and bury the bodies during the day. She said Chad rarely went outside, and you can't see either burial site from the house. I mean, and like I said, he placed himself outside with the text to Tammy. So let's just go ahead and blow that theory out of the water.
Oh yeah.
I think that the shallowness of the graves was just in anticipation of disposing of the remains over time.
Yeah. I ain't
you
gonna
can't
lie.
do it all in it.
No. So I think Seth was the one who said this is a man who buries pets as deep as he can. Okay, I ain't gonna lie. I know as a kid, when my dad buried a pet, he didn't dig no deep hole.
Yeah, it's enough to fit it.
It's enough to fit the animal in and
not float up in a bad rainstorm.
Yeah, I mean, I'm like, what? You gonna dig a big old hole for that?
Well, here's the thing too, and this is what I'm curious about. We know they had the barn marked off. Okay, where was Tylee dismembered? I don't think it would be at the townhouse.
No.
And so for me, my theory is maybe she was dismembered on Chad's property. And so we don't even know what kind of DNA evidence they found in that shed with tools. But remember, one thing that was the subject of that whole thing about the consumptive DNA was one of them had come from tools from Chad's shed.
Yeah.
So I'm convinced Tylee was dismembered there. JJ was probably a quicker burial because he was in one piece and they just buried him as is.
Yep. Here's my other thing. We've all talked about how much Chad knows about burial, but that doesn't mean he couldn't have botched something to make it look like whoever did it didn't know what they were doing.
Exactly. And here's the other thing. They're doing this in broad daylight, like a bunch of dummies. I'm sure he's super, super nervous. What if a kid pops in? What if Tammy pops in for lunch? What if my neighbor walks down the street and wants to come have a chat? This wasn't some professional burial. This was killers burying children's bodies. I'm sure they just wanted to get the kids buried.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I don't buy anything into the depth of the grave. And if you look too in that picture with Chad, that where he's in the grave back when he was doing that, there's heavy machinery back there. It's not all by hand.
Exactly.
They use big things to move the earth. So I mean, if you get over there and there's a bunch of roots or rocks under the ground, it's exhausting.
Yeah.
I've buried animals before where the ground is hard, there's roots, and it takes time. And so you get it big enough to get the animal buried and you move on.
Yeah. Jumping down, because we've actually covered a lot of that in between there. I'm looking at our paper. Emma called Lori a friend of the family in that Reddit post.
Yeah.
So then last night they just said she kind of just showed up. Like
Right.
out of nowhere she came, and that was my dad's worst decision he ever made. Da 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 da.
Right, but
thought
if
that
you
was
remember, yeah, Lori had that cookie party
Yep.
for them after her funeral.
Yeah.
So, but she went on to say she's a friend of the family. She lost her husband earlier this year, and for whatever reason, she and my dad decided to tie the knot. It feels weird, but I already have a positive relationship with my new stepmom, and she has helped our family grieve. It's definitely a weird marriage. So when she says she's helped our family grieve, the way I interpret that is she's been around all of them for periods of time to help them grieve.
Yeah. Yeah.
They act like they didn't know her. Clearly, they didn't know, according to Garth, they didn't know that Lori had kids until the detective showed up.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what he said there.
Yep.
So, and they also said that he never spoke to them about zombies or anything.
Yeah. Well, it's not unheard of that people lead completely double lives when they're away
Yeah.
from home. And Chad had a lot of like minded people online and in these random living rooms where he was spewing this junk. So if they didn't go on these forums, they probably had no idea that he had a following. It would be easy for him to not have to talk about this stuff with them because he's got his people that understand it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then again, we don't know what they did or didn't know.
No. So looking at proof he wasn't framed, this is some good stuff.
I know.
So Alex, not having been at Chad's much, knows where the pet cemetery is.
Yeah. I'm going to pick here.
Yeah, right here. Yeah, yeah.
Then you have the wedding and the clothing brought 2 weeks before Tammy's death. And then 2 weeks later, they're married. They were planning a union before Tammy died. So,
well, Emma did say you could tell when they were first around Lori and Chad that they had already. I don't forget what word she used. I don't know. I wrote it down, but that you could tell they already had chemistry or something.
Well, what she essentially was saying was
connection. That's what she said. Connection.
Yeah, she said she didn't think they had knocked the boots, as we used to say in the 90s. Okay, whatever. You tell yourself that. She was just saying it was more of an emotional affair.
Yep.
And not physical. And I'm just sitting here saying, very childlike analysis, because most adults are going to say, yeah, what do you think was happening?
Yeah. So Chad told Julie Rowe that Tammy was going to die.
Yep.
I mean, that's a big one.
Yeah.
He told the realtor, oh, I know, right? He told the realtor in Hawaii they had no kids.
Yep.
We already talked about, he told his family Lori was an empty nester.
Yep.
What's some of those other ones?
He tells Melanie Gibb not to answer the phone when the cops call.
Yeah.
Inquiring about JJ. Now, are we really supposed to believe, it blows my mind, and we just said it, but that Alex took care of all the remains, started a big bonfire, kicked his feet up without Chad knowing?
Yeah. No. No way.
And
No way.
I think Chad probably thought he was above any kind of religious law when it came to affairs, because these messiahs or self-made messiahs are like that. And a lot of times these cults always revolve around sex with the cult leader.
Yeah.
So I'm sure, Lori, she's been married 5 times. Come on.
Yeah.
She ain't got morals.
No. And then you look at, what about the concrete slab Chad wanted poured?
Yeah, they just didn't get
not approved. Yeah.
It wasn't approved, but where was that going to go? I don't think we ever learned, but I have ideas.
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder if that won't come out in court.
Yeah, maybe.
We already talked about Alex's phone was pinged close to the house the night she died. So we are to believe Alex just happened to be at Chad's or near there when these huge events happened.
Yeah. Yeah. And then the life insurance increase, obviously, just weeks before she died. Yep. And he told Tammy that he was burning limb debris and also Googled the direction of the weather.
Yeah, and
So,
the way the wind was coming across or
or yeah,
something.
it's that
Direction
COVID
of the wind.
brain, the
There
direction
you
of the
go.
weather.
Weather,
Ugh.
wind, it's all the
I
same.
mean, I don't know. I mean, look, there is a part of me that feels sort of sorry for these kids, but at the same time, they've got to take these rose-colored glasses off and look at things.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I just
Um,
their affect was very flat and odd. So I think that only made it all seem that much more awkward.
yeah,
You
yeah.
know what I mean?
Yep.
They just didn't come across as I mean, Leah, like I say, she every time the camera was on her, she had tears coming out of her face. She looked the most conflicted to me, like, I'm gonna say that my dad wouldn't do this, but I'm crying because this don't look good.
Yeah, yeah,
I just it seemed to me like you had Garth and Emma who were sort of the mouthpiece of everybody, and the other 3 just were sort of there.
yeah,
That was
yeah,
my thing. I don't think it did Chad any favors because anytime I see this laid out, and they had to lay it out for people who are casual watchers of stuff like this or new people, so you have to get that backstory.
yeah.
Every time I sit there and go, "Good grief, how could anybody
Mhm.
think this dude's set up?"
Oh,
I
yeah.
mean,
Yep.
it's just stupid.
Yeah.
So, that was kind of it. I mean, I'm gonna tell you, they made some revenue on those ads last night because about every 5th word, we went to commercial.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and a lot of it was stuff we already knew. Um,
Yeah.
but, the majority of their interview was what was, the most meat, so
Right, and I thought too that the big points that were kind of, what we wanted to know, they put it in the preview.
Yep.
So, the actual interview just wasn't anything super explosive. It kinda became predictable after a while. I knew they were gonna say, "Oh, no, he would never do that. He would never do this. He loved our mom." I think the thing for me is it was hard to watch them validate this story about their mother, about
Yeah.
how she died, because, all these innocent people and just it seems like they've bought that too and convinced themselves that she was a sick woman.
Yeah.
We
There's
don't know
2
what
other
Chad told them.
No. There's 2 other points, though. I mean, if you remember, Garth was the only one at home, and I'm not saying that they wasn't around their other kids, but you know as well as I do, if you're not living in the home, sometimes you don't see as much as what you think.
Exactly.
There were 2 other points I wanted to make that they talked about on there. One, they said Chad said God did not agree with murder or something, and I'm like, "Are you serious?"
Yeah.
Like, you really made that statement. The other one was talking about Alex, and Alex said he performed CPR on Charles,
Oh, yeah.
and they said on there last night that when the paramedics got there, they knew that was a lie because blood came out when they
Yeah.
started CPR.
Yeah.
So they
Do you
said
remember
that wouldn't have happened. So
on that 911 call, Alex was like, 1, 2, 3.
yeah,
Like, he was
yeah,
trying to act like he was doing CPR. Oh gosh. I can't imagine if he were here right now, how this whole dynamic would have changed.
yeah. If he would have even told the truth, though. That's
Yeah,
why
but
I still think Zulema, she knows stuff.
yeah, that's true. I didn't think but
Yeah.
I was thinking Alex would probably throw it on Lori and Chad.
Oh yeah.
Um, then it would
Yeah.
just be a he said, she said, he did it, they did it. The
Yep.
bottom line, I think, I really do hope they open their eyes because they've got a lot of stuff to deal with for the rest of their life. These people have jobs, they have families, and they're not going to bode well by just seeing their dad as a victim.
No. No.
It's maybe
Yeah.
trial will help that, maybe not.
Yeah.
They seem so childlike in their trust. I mean, how I was with my dad or my mom when I was 5 or 6, and they told me something and I just believed it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, I don't see how they can't look at all this and say, and the announcer said it. He said, either Chad's the most unlucky guy in the world, or he's guilty of something.
Oh yeah. Yep.
So yeah, it's all crazy, but we just wanted to hop on and do this. We're gonna be back regular now. These headaches I don't think are going anywhere. You're sitting here, we're on FaceTime. We're not gonna put it out because I look horrible, but like half my face is swollen, and it's
I'm gonna
all
put it
normal.
out there. I'm downloading both. I'm gonna throw this video
I
out there.
swear, if you do, I'm gonna be up at your house at midnight knocking
Hey,
on your door.
that's why I put a hat on, because you can see my hair sticking up.
Oh, girl,
Yeah.
no,
I've got to
no.
get a haircut. So
Me too. I know.
Yeah.
I got my hair's long. It's getting gray, and I honestly just don't care right now because I don't feel good.
Yeah, amen to that.
But I did get that. See, I got the vaccine in March though, so I
Yeah.
think that saved me from getting pneumonia.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Because I get it. I get it all the time in the winter.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, we'll have something out for you. Hopefully this weekend at some point, maybe Sunday. Try to get back on a more regular schedule now that you're settled and I'm kind of, we're both kind of on the tail end of this COVID stuff. And so you'll be seeing us a lot more. We will include video when I don't look like I've been in a fight with Mike Tyson.
There you go.
All right, guys. Yeah, you put it out there, girl. I got backup. I do
know,
have,
right?
I got plenty of stuff at my disposal, so I dare you.
Yeah, no, I'm good. All right, good night, guys.
All right, bye.
With Lucky Land Slots, you can get lucky just about anywhere.
Dearly beloved, we are gathered here today to... Has anyone seen the bride and groom?
Sorry, we're here. We were getting lucky in the limo and we lost track of time.
No, Lucky Land Casino, with cash prizes that add up quicker than a guest registry.
In that case, I pronounce you lucky.
Play for free at LuckyLandSlots.com. Daily bonuses are waiting. No purchase necessary. Void where prohibited by law. 18+. Terms and conditions apply. See website for details.